Hello everybody and welcome to a new patch notes episode where we are going to be discussing the latest patch 3.1.2, and in this patch we've got pretty big changes, so without further ado let's begin. So the big change that I want to talk about is the metagame change, commander power limitation. This is something that was direly needed and talked about quite a bit and was advertised as something that is going to be right before, well, not really right before, but before the ranked battles. So, which is, very importantly, your abilities are now limited to your unit tier rather than your commander tier. So if you're using a tier 5 unit, you can only use the upgrades that are at tier 5. This is done completely automatically. It also changes a few UI stuff, so let's take a look. So if you are tier 5, this is how it's gonna look. If you are tier 3, this is how it's gonna look. You see this ability requires tier 1 and its upgrades are going to be based on the tier. The upgrades that are applied are based on which tier you are playing at the time. That is the change that has arrived, which on one hand is good. I was just hoping they would balance those abilities for the lower tiers before they do this, but they have insinuated that they're going to be balancing a lot of these abilities before they release the ranked system. So we're gonna wait and see. What we have got is pretty nice changes. My concern is that some generals, they really begin to be useful after tier 8 when they unlock their secondary abilities. As such, that might inadvertently nerf some of the generals for the ranked battles, which are going to take place at tier 5. So they will need to balance those out before they release the ranked one, but they have already insinuated they would do that. So premium unit changes, they are now, you can use them regardless of your commander tier. So if you've got a tier 1 general, you can still use like tier 8 premium unit and you will be put into that tier. Also, you will be able to use all of your abilities apparently. I don't know if you need to have purchased the abilities, the upgrades I mean, but you will be able to use the abilities at the very least, the basic ones. Ability state changes, now you can see the casting time on the ability, which is nice. I really like the changes. It talks about additional UI polish. I really like the changes to the icons. Now they're a lot easier to see on what terrain you're on, instead of the like there was very difficult to tell if you were in the medium, light, or at heavy forest. So now that is a lot easier to tell. Your buffs are now and debuffs are highlighted with a green or red, so that's a wonderful change. I love it. That reminds me of World of Warcraft changes actually, which were great additions to the game. Now the big ones, the balance changes. We have got Vercingetorix. Based on high tier metrics and review and player feedback, Vercingetorix overpower level is scaling up too well in higher tiers. That is absolutely true. The Defiance was simply way too good of an ability, and combined with Iron Discipline, there is just no way around it. They could kill just about anything without being able to mitigate that. The offensive output of Defiance was too high, especially when considering the unique units can't die effect that Defiance applies. This is pretty big because Defiance on the paper only looks like a offensive buff, but because the unit cannot die, it makes it very defensive too. So reduced melee attack bonus on talents from 30% to 15%. Melee damage bonus from 30 to 15%, armor penetration from 40% to 30%. That is very, very good. That's gonna nerf him pretty heavily, as you can see. We'll see how well it goes. Miltiades. Well, Miltiades has always been a strong commander for a certain part of player base, competitive player base. With the recent 3.1 changes, his power level has increased to unwanted levels. His maneuverability and battle control capacity was too strong. I never thought that way, but I guess that is true. I don't know. I don't have much experience with that. I mean, I've played against Miltiades a lot of times, and it's just a set thing. But let's see. Reduce base morale from minus 35 to minus 22. That's a good idea, actually. Reduce base move speed from minus 26 to minus 16. That is that. Now that I see these changes, this does kind of make sense. Reduce the cooldown reduction on the last talent from a total of 8 to 10 seconds. So at highest tier, the infantry charge cooldown is increased by 2 seconds. This will effectively change the cooldown from 13 seconds to a total of 15 seconds. A small change. Stakes HP and damage rework. Based on our player data analysis and your player feedback, we have concluded that stakes are still too strong of a tool for any defensive playstyle. Especially friendly fire change 3.1. Although their damage had been reduced, infantry were still taking too much damage from stakes and took too long to destroy them. And thus, in response to this, we have reduced stake damage versus infantry by a factor of 4, whatever the hell that means. It is now possible to walk over enemy stakes and take considerably less damage. Reduce stakes HP by 33%. It will now take less time to destroy stakes. That's good. That's good. Honestly, we still had a lot of invisible stakes and they were doing some pretty good damage. So I'm pretty happy that this change was implemented. Dog unit type power up. They really needed this. With the introduction of strikes, dog units have more difficult time surviving in melee combat, yes. In order to improve their combat survivability and make unit feel less extreme and rather more complete, we have increased melee defense of deck entities by approximately 66%. They should survive better melee combat, in particular against units with low melee attack like spears. That's very good. At the same time, dog entities' speed felt insufficient, especially when trying to chase down ranged or fleeing units. Increase the base speed of dog entities by 10%. Looks good. I have no arguments against this. This is a good idea. I don't know about 66% change. That might be a little bit too much. We will see. The unit ability didn't feel like Numidian Throw. Changes to unit abilities there are, and a reduced cooldown from 60 seconds to 30 seconds and increased range from 50 to 60 meters. Is this a repeatable ability? I do not know, but if it is, that is... we will see. I know the Carthage units have this, especially the cavalry. Could be an interesting playstyle change, so I will refrain from comments. Slam, the damage component was not particularly calibrated and thus made probably ability feel underpowered. That's absolutely true. Like, honestly, I wasn't even paying attention to Slam. It certainly was underpowered, especially in comparison to like parry or vicious strikes. Other changes: Hispanias' Gladius weapon upgrade was too strong, blah 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 blah. So melee attack increased from 15 to 20%. Of full-hand Gladius Praetorians replaced formed combat with heavy Pilla. I guess. I mean, formed combat is good. What's your problem with formed combat? Although I did notice a bug recently where formed combat would stop charge. But I'm glad the heavy Pilla is back for the heavy units. Yay. Imperial Guard, Brace and Formed Combat were performing similar functions. Replace Brace with heavy Pilla. Bloody finally. That is very good, even though it makes the Imperial Guard a little, how should I say, generic compared to 2 patches ago. Well, let's take a look at bug fixes. Where the players could not view, fix the bug where the players could not view replays if they had more than one replay on the list. Yes! Thank the bloody Lord! Oh my god, Roman is gonna be so happy about this. I'm gonna write it to him as soon as I'm done. Active consumables no longer appear on the unit's stats pages as abilities. Okay. The rewards breakdown pie chart now shows the victory color segment. That's nice. All active ammunition consumables are consistent between the front and end in battle. Commander panel head is now aligned to the commander abilities. Oh, by the way, this was also the reason why I haven't been uploading as many battles recently. I haven't been uploading as many videos recently, is because the replay system was completely broken. Unit type, anyway, getting back to this, unit type icon for now appear in gold in all UI areas. That's, yeah, I noticed that. That's pretty good. The unit tier highlight is still active, blah, 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 blah. Fix that crash, loading the Pasture of Augustus map, nice. UI no longer displays flame projectile consumable as active when using focus fire, that's nice. And that seems to be the big ones. Other than that, you know, crashes, missing unit string, etc, etc. Nothing too interesting. And so this was 3.1.2. In my opinion, this is a very nice patch. I really like these changes, and a few patches like this, and honestly the game is gonna be at a very good shape. So we will see how else it goes. Do leave a comment on what you think about this patch. We will see you on the next one.